Jeff Angela sitting in for Jan Michelson. This is News Radio 1040 WHO. Well, I was intrigued by the fact that one of the most viewed videos on our own Van and Bonnie Facebook page the past few months has been a video on how to survive an active shooter. And there is actually a firm, U.S. Law Shield, that is conducting workshops nationwide advising people on how to survive an active shooter. One of the gentlemen that's doing that nationwide is Edwin Walker. He's on the News Radio 1040 WHO Newsmakers Line. Edwin, welcome to WHO in Des Moines. Thank you for taking the time.
Well, thank you for having me.
I was really interested in the questions that you get, Edwin, at these workshops. You know, we always hear the phrase fight or flight. Do people come to you when you are talking to them about surviving an active shooter, and do they say, should I fight or should I run? Is that one of the key questions that you get?
Well, yes. People always, that is one of the things. But the common wisdom is that you run, hide, and fight.
Okay.
That's what is commonly put out there as the escalation of force ladder, is that your primary duty, you have to remember, is to yourself.
Right.
You can't help anybody else if you wind up becoming killed or injured. And so your first instinct should be to try to avoid the confrontation, assist others in avoiding the confrontation, and then of course in the event that you have literally no other choice, then you must fight. Unfortunately, what we have seen is that most of these active shooter situations happen in gun-free zones. And so it's just a fact of life that, unfortunately, people who are licensed to carry handguns may find themselves in a situation where they do not have a handgun available to defend themselves. And, of course, in an active shooter situation, that puts them at a grave disadvantage. So we go over, we do these in conjunction with law enforcement, which law enforcement also talks about using alternate weapons that may be available, fire extinguishers, pieces of furniture, things like that.
Let me go through the steps that you just described, and we'll get to the fight part in a moment. You were talking about run and take care of yourself, but you were also saying that you can help other people escape as well. So in what situation is that appropriate, Ed? When you take care of yourself, but do you take the time to try to assist other employees as well if there's an active shooter around?
Well, I think that most people feel they have a moral obligation. They feel a moral obligation to help out individuals who also are in harm's way. Now, there are no states that I am aware of that actually impose a duty to help out third parties at the risk of yourself. But like I said, many people feel a moral or ethical duty to do so, and that just simply is human nature to protect the lesser, the more vulnerable people in society. And so I can see how people would be inclined to do that. But like I said, in these situations, you have to try to maintain a clear head and make sure that you maintain yourself in the best position to not only save yourself, but also possibly assist in saving others around you. Certainly, you would not want to do anything that would impose a barrier to people getting out. It's sort of the same thing as folks who have to sit in the emergency aisle of an airplane. Federal law requires you to agree verbally that you will assist in helping people evacuate from the plane. And so it's sort of a similar situation.
The other thing that I was thinking about, Edwin, when people are telling me that in a situation like this I should hide, is that I might put myself in a spot where I really can't, if I'm forced to fight, can't fight. I don't want to, for lack of a better term, be a sitting duck in one of these particular situations. So is hiding really an option in one of these situations?
Well, that is part of your situational awareness. And we discuss a lot about situational awareness in these seminars, that any place you're at, if it's someplace that you're unfamiliar with, that you do familiarize yourself with the exits. You may even want to go to the extent of checking to make sure that the exits are not locked or barricaded. In fact, I think that was one of the things that had first come out with regard to the Orlando shooting. I don't know if it eventually wound up being true, but there were certain facts circulated in the media that either that one of the exits was either chain locked or barricaded by some sort of machine. And certainly these are things that you would want to scope out so that you already have in your mind where you might run to in the event a situation occurs. But you are correct. You do not want to put yourself in a situation where your hiding place is also the most confining space available. Or if it is confining, that you have done something to barricade yourself in so that it might dissuade an active shooter from pursuing you into that location and instead choose a softer target.
You are listening to Edwin Walker. He is conducting workshops nationwide advising people how to survive an active shooter. So, Edwin, you made a great point. A lot of folks work in a gun-free zone, and you may be in the situation where you have to fight. So when you're working in conjunction with law enforcement to talk to people about this, I'm not armed. What do I do when I finally get to a situation where I'm going to have to fight for my life?
Well, like I said, grab something that you can use. Anything, firearms are, of course, always deadly weapons.
Yeah.
But anything can be used as a deadly weapon if it is used in a manner that is intended to cause death or serious bodily injury. And so, look for some sort of device you use as a weapon, something that is heavy but yet is still portable, perhaps something that has a sharp edge to it or can be made into a sharp edge. If you encounter, if you have some sort of, dowel or pipe or anything that you can use as a bludgeoning device, you just sort of have to improvise at that point. Now, if you are in a location where you are allowed, a license holder is allowed to have their firearm, or perhaps your state has a law that allows even unlicensed individuals to carry firearms around, one of the things you have to be aware of is certainly be judicious when you use that firearm, because you don't want to recklessly injure third parties, and most importantly, you don't want a third party or the police to mistake you for the active shooter. So if you do happen to be armed, the second you see a police officer and you are not in immediate danger from the active shooter himself, put down your firearm and show the police officer your hands, just to try to mitigate the fact that you might be mistaken by the police as being one of the active shooters.
Yeah, you just had that situation, Edwin, in Dallas, where a gentleman was armed and was ultimately arrested. So I had not thought about that, but you can, if you're armed, defend yourself, but make sure that you react quickly when police are spotted, because that can cause then a secondary danger to you.
Correct, and that's what police are trained to look for are people's hands. And so you can sit there and shout all day long, "I'm not the shooter, I'm not the shooter, he ran that way." But until the police officer visually confirms that you do not have a weapon, especially a firearm, in your hands, you're going to be the subject of some unwanted police scrutiny.
All right, Edwin Shield of U.S. Law Shield, conducting seminars on how to survive an active shooter. Edwin, thanks for joining me today. Very valuable advice. I appreciate hearing from you.
Well, thank you, sir, for having me. Appreciate it.